All right, welcome back to the garage. I just got the Firebird back from Classic Performance there yesterday. Learned something new. It does not have a Power Glide 2-speed in it. It has a Super Turbine 300 2-speed in it. And it was leaking from the oil pan gasket, the speedometer gear housing seal, as well as the shifter shaft seal. So they got that all fixed up for me, or so I thought. It's still got a drip. Got a leak, got a little puddle underneath there. I'll call Classic here in a little bit and see if they want to, take it back and take another look at it and see if there's anything they can do about it. I also brought it home yesterday and I pulled the front wheels off of it. And this morning I went to Cal Tire and put these 205 60-15s on it. They're definitely a lot shorter than the 225s, but that should eliminate the rubbing issue. Hopefully they don't look terrible. I'll actually get a good glimpse of it once I pull this thing outside. But what I was doing is I was going around and retorquing. After I put those on, I went to retorque these back wheels to 80 foot-pounds. And one of the lug nuts went from righty-tighty to righty-loosey. So I quickly pulled it off here. I think this wheel cylinder might be leaking a little bit, so I cleaned this up a little bit. I'll put this all back together and I'll run it around the block a few times and maybe see if there's any fluid that comes up in here again. But it's kind of cleaned off now. There's just a little bit of grit on it, a little bit of dirt, but I'll see if that's leaking at all. Anyway, I was able to chase the threads on the lug nut. Let's see here. Yeah, this is the guy here. The little culprit, and I think I got it cleaned up, so it'll work again. And the nut that it was on, or the stud that it was on, is that guy there, and I chased the threads on that a little bit, cleaned it up. It should still work, so I'm gonna put this all back together and see what I got. Okay, chasing these threads did not do the trick, and I think that's because my studs are not long enough, or these shank style lug nuts are not long enough. These have a 0.746 inch shank on them, and the depth of my hole is 1.0705. So I need a longer shank on my lug nuts. So let's see if we can find some of those. Okay, I took the Firebird back to Classic Performance and had them take another look at that transmission leak. They told me whenever I picked it up the first time that shifter shaft seal was completely coated in silicone, and they had to dig it out. They couldn't even see the seal. And whenever they went to replace it, they noticed that the transmission housing was all marred up where that seal goes in there, and we can't really see it here, but they told me whenever I picked it up that it may leak a bit more. So that's what's going on. It's the shifter shaft seal. The only way to fix that is to pull the transmission and have it machined so that they can fit a bigger seal in there. So I guess for now I'm just going to live with a little bit of a transmission leak. I'll just have to keep an eye on the fluid volume there, fluid level, and make sure it's topped up, which, kind of gives me reason to call this thing Lucille, because it has a loose seal. So that's the Firebird's new name, is Lucille. Well, welcome to the family, Lucille. Yeah, that's where I'm at there. Now that that's kind of defined and that's what we're going to do with that, next thing is center caps for the wheels. The wheels whenever I got them, they came with these center caps. They're kind of manky and ugly, and they're also just plastic. The hardware that was holding them on, here's a quick glimpse of what was holding those things on. It's just a random pile of small screws. Like there's a self tapper there, there's some shit like that, but they screw right into the face of the wheel, and I don't really like that. So I searched and searched. I searched the world over to try and find center caps that would fit these wheels. These wheels have almost a 3-inch bore in them for the center caps, and most center caps that I could find were like 4 inches around. So I found these off AliExpress, and they cost me about $45. I found a set of caps like this that were American Racing, and they were $170. So $170 for plastic, or $45 for some high-grade Chinesium. So I went with this. And I'll pull off one of these wheels. I got one of them situated, but they take a little finagling to make fit. And I'll pull off a tire and I'll show you why. Okay, here's the back side of that other front tire, and you'll notice that it's got this additional bore to it here. So the cap fits in there pretty nice. However, with the mating surface of the hub being here, that means that this is just going to rattle around in there because there's nothing holding it in place. Now I went through and I thought, well, you know, I could put some silicone or something here. I could kind of glue it to the wheel, but I mean, if that comes loose, then it's just going to be in there rattling around, right? And if I take it over here to the actual hub, there's nothing on the hub here that's going to hold it in place, really. I mean, it fits pretty well there. There's just a little bit of wiggle room, but with that additional bore, this thing's just going to be flopping in and out. So I thought, well, okay, what can I do to try and hold this thing in place? And I thought, well, if I hold it to the hub, if I hold it to the wheel here, anything happens to it, it's going to flop around. But if I space it out here and I hold it to the hub, then it shouldn't move around and nothing should happen to it. So what I did is I cut a little ring. This is just ABS sewer pipe. This is 3-inch, so the outside diameter is just about 3.5 inches, and the inside diameter is just about 3 inches, which fits really nicely, fairly nicely anyway, over this center cap. See that? So it holds that center cap in place, and it spaces it out in here just enough so that it shouldn't have a whole lot of wiggle room between the hub and the center cap. So it should hold it in place fairly well. Now then, it is a little bit loose in there. So what I do is I just take some electrical tape, and I've calculated 6 wraps around this guy with electrical tape will fill in the space around this guy, as well as hold it very nicely to this center bore on here. So that's what I'm doing. Let's do one of these. Now then, my spacer needs to be exactly 1/2 inch thick. And so to mark that, I've got a piece of 1/2 inch wooden doweling here that I've got clamped down. I clamped a knife blade to it. I can set my piece of pipe up here and rotate it, and that'll make a nice mark all the way around it, 1/2 inch. I can use the chop saw, chop that off. Leave it a little bit long, and then I can come in here, use a little sander, and just sand it down wherever I need to, make it nice and flush all the way across. So just that's how I'm making those. I've just got 2 more to go for the backs, and then I'll be done with this little project. Okay, got the electrical tape on there, got the ring on there. It fits real nice and snug. Now we can slide it in the hole and throw the wheel back on. Before I get crazy putting it on there, I like to check, make sure with the straight edge that it's not sticking out past the mounting surface, and it's all good there, so we can go. Okay, the center caps are in, they're mounted. I think they look real good. They're nice and centered. Got an even gap all the way around them there. They're nice and firm. They don't move around. That's pretty awesome. I think that's a win. Now I got to figure out what I want to do with these holes, the little screw holes. I think I'll leave them for right now, but I'm tempted to weld those shut and then sand them down and polish it real nice, make this wheel look really good. But I've got them on all the way around, and yeah, a little project there is done for the time being. I can move on to something else. Here's the front over here. Yeah, looks real good. I like it. Alright, it's time to play my favorite game called Where is Lucille Leaking From Now? Every time I come out here, I look and I find another puddle. That's a new one. I know about the transmission leak back there, but this guy here, let's do some exploration and see if we can see where that's coming from. I think it's coming from down around the fuel pump, but yeah, let's take a look. Alright, here's the view from underneath the fuel pump, and look at this stuff here. Seems to be engine oil, so that indicates to me that it's a leak from the block somewhere around in there. So could be the gasket between the fuel pump and the block there. May have to do a bit more exploration, but not today. Today I'm gonna go do something else. Okay, I cleaned it up a little bit, just with some brake clean. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm not going to bother trying to fix it today. I'll just keep an eye on it and see how it goes. Keep an eye on my oil level, make sure it doesn't get low. But, yeah, might need a little assistance, but we'll get her. Well, looks like she's got a bit of a fuel leak. I'll have to look at that again. Yeah, this little hose clamp right in here sure seems to be a pain in my ass. I may have to re-engineer something there to get away from having to deal with that. Let's see if she's leaking still. Yeah, a couple turns with a screwdriver and no more leaky leak. All right, I was doing a little thinking about that leaking fuel line and do a little research and find out there shouldn't be any rubber hose on this. This is pressurized coming off the pump, so it should be just solid steel line. And so to try to avoid any further fuel leaks, I went ahead and picked up a steel line here. I think this is the right one. We're gonna pull this apart. I'm gonna pull the air cleaner off and the alternator so I can get in there to it and see if this will fit, see if it'll fix it. Let's do that. Okay, I pulled the air cleaner off and I got the alternator out of the way. The front of that carburetor, this is a Rochester Quadrajet carburetor, and the very front piece on it here screws into there. It's got the filter in it. So pulled the filter out. Filter looks pretty clean. I don't know if you can see inside there. But yeah, it looks to be in great shape there. There's also a little spring that holds it in place. Got to make sure I don't lose those. I pulled off the top part of that hose, top part of that fuel line. However, the bottom part of the fuel line is pretty adhered onto the pump, so I'm gonna have to try and figure something out to get that out of there, as well as I won't be able to slide the new line in without loosening up this power steering pump and rotating it around so that I can get access in there. So I've got a little bit of work ahead of me. Got to figure out what to do with that guy because it's stuck on there pretty good. I'm using these brake line wrenches on this stuff, and it's still trying to round it out, so I don't know what to do about it. We'll think about it for a minute. All right, I got this little bugger off of there. What I did is I took the handy dandy multi-tool, this little guy right here, and I cut off the fuel line just right at the nut, and then I was able to slip a socket on it with an impact and impact it out of there. What a pain in the ass. Now then, I was able to feed the new tube up through there, but I don't know if I have the right tube or not. If you can see, it comes awfully close to the belts there where it comes out. I'm going to go ahead and pull the power steering pump off of there so that I've got room to manipulate that thing and work with it a little bit to try and see if it slides into place or if it's the wrong one. Okay, I pulled that power steering pump out of the way, just set it off to the side over here. I think it's going to be just fine if I pull this belt tight and straight. If I can get it on the pulley down there. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be too bad. I think it might also just need a little bit of tweaking here and there just to get it just right into place. But I think it's going to work. Let's play with it a bit more. All right, I got the fuel line run. It looks good. I had to tweak it just a little bit to make sure that it didn't rub on this bolt as well as on the thermostat housing there. I've got some pretty decent clearance there and there. So I can get in here and take a look at that. Yeah, I think that should be just fine. If it's not, then I can do something different. But now I got to put all this stuff back together. Well, I'm almost there. Trying to put this power steering bracket into place, and yeah, sure enough, it runs into the line there, so I've got to scooch it over that way just a skosh. Okay, she's all put together. Looks pretty good. You can see down in there, but fuel line's nice and nicely routed. Goes up and around. Not touching anything. Pretty sweet. Tightened up down in there. Let's see if she'll fire up. Well, she starts up just fine and doesn't leak any fuel, so that's a win in my book. I like that. I think that looks a lot better than that rubber hose that we had on there. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm going to end this video here. So I've got something to post. I'm still waiting for lug nuts. They're on order, but they're just not in yet. Yeah, so I'm going to end this here. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.